The film begins in 1981 in San Francisco with Christopher Gardner, a struggling salesman who has invested all of his savings in portable bone density scanners. He believes in the product, but because it is expensive, selling it proves to be extremely difficult. The financial pressure creates constant tension between him and his wife, Linda, who works long hours to help pay the bills. One day, Christopher sees a man driving a luxury car and asks him what he does for a living. The man replies that he is a stockbroker. Inspired by the answer, Christopher decides to apply for an internship at Dean Witter. Determined to get noticed, he manages to share a taxi ride with Jay Twistle, a manager at the firm. During the ride, Twistle struggles to solve a Rubik's Cube, but Christopher solves it effortlessly while talking to him, leaving a strong impression. However, this pursuit causes Christopher to arrive late to pick up his son from daycare, as he had promised Linda. Frustrated and exhausted by their financial struggles, Linda leaves him and takes their son with her. In the middle of this difficult period, Christopher receives a call from Dean Witter inviting him to an interview. The next day, he meets Linda at the daycare center and tells her that their son will stay with him. Meanwhile, his landlord demands overdue rent and threatens to evict him. Christopher negotiates for more time by agreeing to repaint the apartment. Unfortunately, while painting, he is arrested because of numerous unpaid parking tickets and bills. As a result, he misses most of his interview day and arrives at Dean Witter wearing the same paint-stained clothes he had on in jail. Despite his appearance, he impresses the interviewers with his intelligence and confidence. One executive jokingly asks what he would think if someone showed up to an interview without a shirt and tie and still got hired. Christopher quickly replies, he must have had a really nice pair of pants. His answer makes everyone laugh, and he is eventually accepted into the internship program. Soon afterward, he discovers that the internship is unpaid for 6 months and initially decides to turn it down. However, Jay Twistle encourages him to find a way to make it work. After thinking carefully, Christopher calls back and accepts the opportunity. To save money, he moves into a cheap motel and leaves his son at daycare while attending the internship. The trainees must make a certain number of calls to earn a full-time position, so Christopher develops strategies to maximize his productivity. One of them is avoiding drinking water during work hours so he won't waste time going to the restroom. For a while, things seem to improve. Then he receives a notice informing him that unpaid taxes will be automatically deducted from his bank account if they are not paid by the deadline. Unfortunately, by the time the letter reaches him, the deadline has already arrived. On the very day he receives his paycheck, almost all of his money is taken to cover the tax debt, leaving him completely broke. His struggle begins all over again. After a long day trying to sell one of his scanners, he returns to the motel only to discover that he and his son have been evicted because he could not pay the rent. With nowhere to go, he takes his son to a subway station. He entertains him with stories and games until the boy falls asleep, and they spend the night there. In the months that follow, Christopher and his son move between homeless shelters, train stations, and temporary places to stay. Some nights they find a bed, while on others they are forced to sleep on the streets. Finally, the 6-month internship comes to an end. Christopher is called into the office and informed that he has been selected for a full-time position as a stockbroker at Dean Witter. For the first time in a very long while, Christopher Gardner feels truly happy, knowing that all of his sacrifices and struggles have finally paid off.